I didn't learn this until now when I was browsing about the internet, but apparently there is a big commotion caused by SJWs and crazy feminist types regarding all the games that were revealed at the last E3. Namely of those crazy types was Anita Sarkeesian itself, in Feminist Frequency. And what was their gripe? That video games reinforce the deeply entrenched cultural notion that heroes are male. Ugh. This instantly recalls to mind a video I did called "Fishy Study Proves Women Are as Good at Video Games as Men," where an article espoused the idea that it was generally accepted that girls just can't play video games. The recurring theme between these two, and something that I've seen from Feminist Frequency all throughout its existence, is that it seems to put forth the notion that we think things, we being men, we think things that we just don't think. That article said that there is a broad stereotype that men make better players than women do. And this article here, or at least what Feminist Frequency said about the prevalence of male protagonists at E3 released games, they say it reinforces the deeply entrenched cultural notion that heroes are male. And I'll bet that if you asked 100 people who play video games, can a woman be a hero, 100% of them will say, of course a woman can be a hero. Why would you ask such a stupid question? Feminism as we see it today, to me, seems to be a cause that has outlived its purpose. It seems to exist in a time where it is not necessary. When you take an organization like Feminist Frequency, it has to invent dragons for itself to slay so it can stay relevant. But based on the games that were showcased at the last E3, Feminist Frequency says there are not enough female heroes in video games, even though by Feminist Frequency's own statistic and graph that they provide, 49% of the games allow you to play either as male or female. So half the games that were showcased allow you to play as a woman. 3% of the games are exclusively female, and 41% of the games are exclusively male. Now, when I look at a graph like this, what I see here is not that video games are sexist or that they reinforce some sort of thing that we don't think, but they want us to think that we think. No. What I get from this graph is that video games, for the most part, don't rely on the gender of the protagonist. Half of these games could be a male or female protagonist, so it doesn't matter whether or not you have a vagina or a penis. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. What matters is the things that you do and the actions that you take inside the game. It's almost like, I don't know, it's based off of merit and not some predetermined factor like your sex or gender or whatever. So how come of the remaining games, 41% of those are exclusively male and 3% are exclusively female? Well, it sounds to me like most of these games are trying to cater to the demographics that play them. It has nothing to do with sexism. It's about marketing. It's about selling copies. It's not about her we hate the women's. Whenever I see a new game concept coming out, I'm not going to ask myself, well, is the protagonist male? I'm going to ask myself, is the game good? Because I could care less whether or not the protagonist is male or female. In Guild Wars 2, the only character that I maxed out in rank was female. It wasn't even human. In Fallout 4, my vault dweller was, the lone survivor? She was a woman. And Dirty Bomb that you see here, a large amount of the playable mercs are female. They also are from a variety of different places, and they have different accents, they're from different backgrounds, they have different skin colors. It doesn't matter what they are. People don't play Skyhammer because he's a white Scottish dude. People don't play Aura because she's a black woman. People don't play Kira because she's an Asian woman. People play these characters based on what they do, how their play styles vary, and how useful they could potentially be. I don't play a Stoker because he's a white British guy. I play a Stoker because he has good weapons and he can throw Molotovs at people. That seems to be a lot more useful than his nationality or his racial background. Again, Feminist frequency and sites like it invent dragons for themselves to slay. They have to come up with problems that don't really exist. And I say that this is a problem that doesn't exist. Feminist frequency says this massive discrepancy between male and female heroes means that for now, games continue to reinforce the deeply entrenched cultural notion that heroes are male by default. We live in a culture that regularly encourages girls and women to project themselves onto and fully empathize with male characters, but rarely encourages boys and men to fully project themselves onto female characters. When players are encouraged to see a game universe exclusively through the eyes of a humanized female character, it helps challenge the idea that men can't or shouldn't identify with women as full human beings. Games can be a powerful tool for generating empathy, but as long as games continue to give us significantly more stories centered on men than on women, they will continue to reinforce the idea that female experiences are secondary to male ones. What a load of fucking horse shit. What feminist frequency does not seem to understand is that it doesn't matter what the gender of the character you're playing is. Only in rare circumstances does the gender of the character actually matter. Like Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, which is about the emphasis on the bond that two brothers share. And you have shows like A Band of Brothers. You have phrases like brothers in arms. Fratricide is considered one of the worst and almost unnatural things that you can do. For someone to kill his own brother is exceedingly cruel and malicious. So there can be cultural and literary reasons why a game like Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons exclusively is about two male protagonists who are brothers. Feminist frequency says, when players are encouraged to see a game universe exclusively through the eyes of a humanized female character, it helps challenge the idea that men can't or shouldn't identify with women as full human beings. Basically, what she's saying is that if games continue to have mostly male protagonists, the males who play those games don't see women as full human beings, which is ridiculous. I have never particularly cared about the gender of my character in a game. It's just something that is there. I never didn't buy a game because the protagonist was female. I never bought a game because the protagonist was male. But that seems to be the idea that she's putting across. If it was true that there is this deeply entrenched cultural notion that heroes are male and male by default, then it seems to me like myself and a great deal of other video game players would not buy games because it was a female that you were playing as. But we can flip this around on its side. 41% of these games at E3 showed an exclusively male protagonist. Okay, but what is it about their maleness that owes to them being a protagonist? I mean, there's no reason why Marcus Phoenix couldn't be female. And there's no reason why Faith from Mirror's Edge has to be female either. It seems to me, I mean, after all, they themselves said that 49% of games allow you to play as a female, so potentially 49% of games have a female protagonist. That means half of the games have female protagonists. If developers were under the impression that nobody would want to play as a female, then why would they include that option into the game? I think this is a significant idea that FemFreak omits. Obviously, a lot of people want to play as a female. That's why, even though they don't have to, a great deal of these developers allow you to be female. But to people like me, this has never been an issue. Oh, it's just never been an issue to you because you're a male. And even worse, you're a white male. Yeah. Mea culpa. That's what pisses me off about this whole feminist frequency bullshit that she's constantly spurting. How about people just stop fucking telling me what I think? Could people do that? Could people just stop telling me what I think? Could Anita Sarkeesian, could she just shut her fucking trap and stop telling me that I think females can't be heroes? Like right here in this clip, I'm playing as Aura, the medic, and she is a black female. And never once, and I don't think anyone else in this entire game has ever said, well, I'm not going to play as Aura because she's a black woman. And I don't play as a Negro. No, of course not. People play as her because she's a very useful and potent class. Feminist frequency seems to think that gender overrides everything else. Gender is the most important part of a hero. Gender is the most important attribute that a video game character can have. It's not their personality or their merits. It's not the things that they do. It's not the things that they say. It's not how they handle themselves. It's what's between their legs. That's the most important aspect of what a hero is. But have we ever considered the possibility that there's actually a reason why more games have exclusively male protagonists over female protagonists? Historically and culturally, warriors are mostly male, especially in games that take place in modern and past settings. In human history, women were a rare sight and still are a very rare sight on the battlefield. Warfare is almost exclusively a masculine affair. And there are reasons for this. During my video on Battlefield 1 is sexist apparently, someone told me, with a straight face in the comments, some person was legitimately convinced that immersion has to take a back seat to inclusion. He legitimately believed that the creative freedom of the developers and the makers of the game was less important than just making everybody feel good about playing as who they wanted to play, regardless of how nonsensical it would be. Obviously, the example there being a mostly historically accurate or historically immersive game that wouldn't let you play as a female because that would obviously be extremely historically inaccurate and would destroy the immersion. So as humans living in human culture, when human culture and human history have had almost exclusively male warriors, it only makes sense that in video games, that is reflected. Human beings possess sexual dimorphism, and this shows through in our culture because it's a part of what we are as a species. But what Anita says here, when I assume it's her who wrote this, or that cuck Macintosh. Their insinuation that I won't be able to view women as full and total human beings equal with me, that is insulting. That is incredibly insulting. When I'm playing through the Mass Effect trilogy as a female Shepard, does that in any way lessen my ability to see males as equal to females? What if the developers of these games want to tell the story about a character who is male? Essentially, what Feminist Frequency wants to do is they want to take over the creative freedom that developers and producers of content have. Like that one character on the Battlefield 1 video, for her, immersion doesn't matter. Creative freedom doesn't matter. The ability for content producers to make what they want to make, that doesn't matter. What matters is the inclusion of races or genders. When I play Mirror's Edge, I don't ask, well, how come I can't play as a man? When I play Tomb Raider, I don't ask, well, why can't I play as a man? When I played Portal, I didn't ask, why can't I play as a man? Because it didn't matter to me. At the end of the day, I think all it comes down to is that games and developers are trying to appeal to the greater majority. If there were more women who played video games and made video games, I think there would just be more women and female protagonists. And this wouldn't be bad, it would just be different. Because it doesn't matter. We're arguing over this stupid, silly non-issue. When we have parts of the earth, like in the Islamic world, you have women who can't even vote, who can't drive, who can be beaten, who can't even leave the house without their husbands. These are real problems. And you have Anita Sarkeesian with all this money talking about women in video games, non-issues, look at us invent problems. If developers and game creators wanted to make female protagonists, they will. And they do. So Anita, shut the hell up and just let people who actually make things make things.